Hey guys, I'm going for a drive today. I'm here on beautiful, what is it right here? 10 lane wide Wadsworth Boulevard, where one more lane always solves the next problem. We're gonna hop on I-70 westbound, drive past actually beautiful Golden, Colorado, and cruise up Clear Creek Canyon, and then loop back around and zip through the mountains on I-70. It's gonna be a whole lot of fun. And we're doing it on my fork of OpenPilot, colloquially called the T. Wilson CO fork, although I have no idea how people actually say it. I didn't think to give it a name. So there's a number of differences between this fork and stock OpenPilot. Most notably, it's running on much older code because I didn't know a whole lot about Git when I started, and so I just kept on committing to the same branch and just going and going and going. Look, some phantom radar objects, maybe caused by this dude's trailer. I think my radar plate's pretty clean, usually gives good data. I don't have a script prepared, by the way. Fortunately, OpenPilot does. And that script is dead-centered driving the entire time, while I ramble on like an idiot. So compared to stock, this fork keeps the Volt just dead center at basically all times, especially on the freeway. But it also does very well at city and neighborhood speeds. It has a custom feed-forward function for the lateral torque controller by Herald, which is amazing. It's crazy to me that it works as good as it does compared to the regular, the traditional angle controller, considering that they're both based on the steering angle, and the angle controller was already using roll compensation in order to adjust the desired curvature based on road roll. And I'm going to help this one out just a little bit, because it's tough for it to know where we're going. So here you see the curve braking doing its thing. It's set to go to allow a higher amount of lateral acceleration when you're on interchanges compared to equivalent corners on highways and city streets, because people are crazy and they drive really fast on interchanges, and so they make OpenPilot do it too. In addition to the custom feed-forward function in the torque controller, the underlying controller that the torque controller uses includes a very good implementation of derivative gain. So it's not a PIF tune, it's a PIDF tune. In this derivative gain implementation, it doesn't use the error rate, it uses the controller output rate. And the controller output is already governed in a sense, and it's also a little bit smoother relative to the error rate. And then it includes some caps on the derivative term to make sure that you don't get derivative kick or unstable derivative feedback. It works really, really well. You'll see it goes right into the curve, it enters and exits perfectly, just never leaves center. The path on my screen is colored according to the controller output. When it's green, it means the controller isn't having to do anything to correct, which includes feed forward and the error terms. And then as it turns from green to red, that means that it's applying zero. When it's orange, it's at 50% control. When it's red, it's at 100% control. So that's when it's having to try as hard as it can. And then I'm also using Sonny Hyben's dynamic lane profile, which I've adjusted to make it preemptively switch from laneful to laneless based on future predicted lateral acceleration, which was already being calculated by the move fast vision turn controller, so it was a very easy implementation. And we've got speed limit control turned on, also one of the move fast features, one of the remnants of the OpenStreetMaps integration in OpenPilot. I don't think they use it at all now. Everything's Mapbox for the actual navigation. Oh, speed limit went down. You'll see under the 55 on the speed limit it says +8. So it includes an optional offset. Yeah, see how it's slowing us down for these curves? This is awesome. I modified the vision turn controller by move fast to include the current and predicted lateral acceleration in its calculations. So now, if you're on a banked curve, it calculates that to be less lateral acceleration than if you were not on a banked curve. And if you're on a curve that's very crowned, like in a neighborhood, and so it's got you banked towards the outside of the curve, then that increases the amount of lateral acceleration that it uses in its calculations, so it slows you down further, just like a human. And then here's one pedal mode. I tap the gas, the max speed changes to a pedal icon, and now we slow to a gentle stop. But I tapped it too early, and so we wouldn't make it. So I'll press the gas again, and then I'll let go right here, and then it'll stop us at just the right spot. It's kind of a fun guessing game. If you've ever driven an EV before with a lot of regen, you get into this habit of, at least, you know, if you're a calculating douchebag like myself, then you get into this habit of trying to predict out how far ahead you need to let off the pedal in order to get maximum regen as you come to a stop for a light or approach a curve or something. You adopt this style of minimal friction brake use. And OpenPilot also has a style of minimal friction brake use. One of the options in my fork prevents OpenPilot from using friction brakes in order to maintain the set speed. There's a capper. It's a speed limit here, 40. Another one of the use is over-speed coasting. So when you're, if your speed is, and it varies from 15% down to around 12% by the time you're at high speed. So if you're doing 75 miles an hour, you have the speed set to 75, but you're going downhill very fast, and you have over-speed coasting turned on, which you can turn on the Volt by pushing it from L mode into D, and you'll see a plus appear next to the max speed. Ta-da! And then I can turn the plus back off. So with overspeed coasting, it will let you go 12 miles an hour faster. If you're going downhill, it'll just postpone using any amount of regen or friction brakes. Gives you perfect coasting. Also, if you have it, if you have this option enabled, then when you're in one pedal mode and you put it in drive gear, it will then it will give you perfect coasting when you let off the gas, and so that's kind of a fun way to hypermile. You know, if I don't have the map braking perfectly aligned, let's only use vision braking and see how it does. To be a little quicker to apply the braking as we head into the curve. I'm having to give it a little thumb flick to get it in all the way. That's not ideal. And I don't have any service out here, so I can't push an update while I drive. Urgh. This is cool. Looks like they are installing a path. That's fun. They're gonna stick a bike path up Clear Creek. That'll be sweet. Come on, man. Once it starts applying the curve braking, it works really well. But it's not doing enough predictive braking. Let's get some more stats up here. The top number on the left is the maximum predicted lateral acceleration. The number below that is the current lateral acceleration. Actually, it looks like I do have a good signal right here. If I find a place to stop, I might just make an adjustment. I like doing that sort of thing. Let's go ahead and utilize map braking and see if it makes the difference, since we have a signal. have the curve braking a little low. I thought I turned it up. See, this is what I get for not submitting pull requests to myself and then requesting review from myself and then being really harsh on myself with criticism and doing it all out in public using 2 separate GitHub accounts. Well, now we don't have to worry about curves. Busy drinking. Man, look at how perfect it takes these curves. It's so great. Gosh. Just kicks ass. Kicks some serious butt. B-U-T-T. More than 3 Newton meters of force to steer your car, you're just not doing it right. All right. We're all gonna die. Oh, it's gonna ride the outside. There we go. Oh, that was fun. Ooh, no guardrail. Nice touch. Now I know I'm gonna die. I keep on not pulling over. If I still have a service, the next one, I'll pull over for sure. We just slow down. You see, I'm having this problem where it ramps up the steering too slowly. And the GM steering rack has its own problem where it takes a hell of a lot more torque. Okay, here's a place to pull over. So the GM steering rack has its own problem where it takes a bunch more torque to get from, say, 50 to 60 degrees than it does to get from 0 to 10 degrees. So you get these diminishing returns in the ability to initiate an angle change the higher angle you are. So if you start from a really low angle and apply full torque, you can whip the wheel over basically as far as you want to with the 3 Newton meters of torque that you have at your disposal with GM, or with the Volt at least. But when it's already 60 degrees over and it needs to try and go another 20, it just kind of poops out. And so the way that I've gotten around this is I scale up the speed that the Vision turn controller uses to compute lateral acceleration based on your speed. The slower you go, the faster it thinks you're going relative to your actual speed. So what that makes happen is if it's stuck on a curve, then at a low speed it'll register as a high lateral acceleration, and then due to the lateral acceleration it applies brakes, which slows you down, which raises the relative speed disproportionately even more, which makes it think that there's even more lateral acceleration, which makes it slow you down some more, and so you get this feedback with itself that allows it to do a much better job of regaining the lower speed that it actually needs in order to do the curve, but it gets stuck the other way because it's not able to achieve enough lateral acceleration to trigger the curve braking because the steering is just too smooth. What a weird problem to have. Let's go back to pre-Cadmus, the Stone Age of Volt steering. Okay, where am I? What? No. Alright, Vision turn controller. Let's see. We want more. Oh, this is the main branch. Jesus, it's been forever. I gotta push. Jesus. Those poor guys on my main branch. They're so far behind. See, the problem is that staging never stays the same for more than a week, and so I never feel comfortable enough to push it to the main branch. But it's so much better at this point than the stuff they're running. Okay, vision turn controller. We are making a change on my phone. Here we go. I'm gonna say that we need more entering lateral acceleration. The max is going to be 1.65. Make it a 20% decrease. Because I need more curve braking. And rather than increase, not that far, 1.7. Rather than, oh, I went the other way. Now it'll use the low speed boost up until a little bit of a higher speed, so I'll get some of the low speed boost effect from these curves at 40 miles an hour. So that's more vision, more entering, braking, slower in curves. And low speed boost goes to higher speed. And then we commit. And then we hop in the comma, pull the code down, and reboot. Boop. That was fun. Guess I don't need the blinker. Sorry for all the clicking. You see, I've got kids. So I can drown out just about any noise that I need to. Plus I work from home, so sink or swim, baby. Sorry for all the candor. What a beautiful canyon. The Candor Canyon. Okay, almost time to go. Wonder if we're gonna make it there and back on the battery. We just might. We'll get some fun regen on the way down. Ooh, OPGM logo. Sick. Okay, off we go. Sometimes if I engage too quick in the drive, it yells at me. It's like it's not done starting up and it screws up the timing or something. I'm sorry. Jeez. Forgive me. Man, what a pain in the butt to have to provide cell phone service like this all the way through a canyon. Usually they just give up. Okay, I gotta confess, I've been doing most of my tuning of curve braking in neighborhoods where the speeds are decidedly less than on highways and freeways. Did anybody hold their breath through the tunnel? The comment did. Oh, should we turn on automatic lane position? I don't know, I kind of like being not super close to rocks on the side of the road. Maybe we can do it for a little bit. Ready? Automatic lane position. You tap left, right, or right, left. You go boop, boop, and then they turn blue, and now we're in automatic lane mode. Right now it says, hey, you're on a 2-lane road that has a little bit of a shoulder, and so I'm going to keep you in the right position, away from oncoming traffic or away from with going traffic to your left. If we were in the left lane of a 2 or more lane one-way road, then it would have us over to the left. And if you're in the middle lane, then it keeps you in the middle. Really simple stuff. But it could save lives. See, it puts us back in the middle due to the curves because it doesn't want to try to ride the side of the road while it's navigating curves. So as the curvature comes up, it turns off, sends us back to the middle. That was some good curve braking. See, sometimes it's hard to tell. A lot of curves it can just take at reasonable speed without any curve braking whatsoever, and so you don't get any curve braking. But you kind of expect curve braking because in general the thing's an idiot and it doesn't know when to do curve braking because curve braking is a really hard problem, and so you sort of expect it to curve brake when it's not supposed to, but a lot of these curves just aren't tight enough for it to do anything. And I'm not gonna fly through the canyon for no reason. The point of OpenPilot is not to drive fast, it's to drive chill. And that's what my fork lets you do. You can relax for 5 hours at a time, go through an entire gas tank without having to intervene on the freeway. I do that routinely. But, you know, if a truck crosses over the center line and smashes into you head on, makes for one viral YouTube clip, baby. Yeah! It's 2020. I'm gonna kill myself for TikTok. This is just kind of sketchy. It's not that I don't trust OpenPilot and all, but some oncoming traffic, so I don't want to curve brake my way into their face. Yeah, there we go. Don't you love it when there's a semi coming your way and OpenPilot says, steer unavailable? It wasn't unavailable, it was insufficient torque. Oh look, here's the side of the trail from the Idaho Springs side. Oh, does it come all the way down? That's fun. There's some map braking. When it brakes way ahead of time like that, ooh, that's the map doing it for you. So sometimes it slows you down too much. also scale. Oh my god! What is it doing? Yeah, seriously, yeah. Good job, Laneless. Laneless is like, the road's not going the way that the lines say it's going. Thank God for dynamic lane position. Let Laneless handle the curves. It's better at it. Even the 0.8.12 Laneless model was pretty good. You see automatic lane position doing its thing. There's too much curvature, it's got us over to the center. If the lane line confidence is too low. Here I go. Gotta go slow for the work crew. Now I can make the curve, that's for sure. I'm gonna have to go a little faster here. Seems like they got the road closed down for quite a bit. But yeah, so the custom feed forward with the PIDF tune just kicks butt. It is amazing. I didn't think that a PID controller could be this good. And the strength of a PID controller is not in the derivative gain or anything like that. The concept behind that stuff is really, really simple. The strength of the PID controller is in the feed forward, if you have it. You can use a PID controller without feed forward, but then you have to have error in order to correct. So, you know, you'd have to plan farther out so that you could detect when you had to turn before you entered a turn, more so than you have to when you're using feed forward. In the case of driving a car, feed forward means that you want to know how much torque it's going to take to steer at a certain angle at a certain speed. Or, in the context of the torque controller, how much torque it's going to take to achieve a certain lateral acceleration at a certain speed. And because of the weirdness of the GM steering rack, although all cars are kind of weird, it seems, in one way or another, but because of the weirdness of the GM steering rack, yeah, kicking butt. There's a strong speed dependence to the feed forward, and there's also a very strong non-linear component to the lateral acceleration dependence. This is kind of sketchy, of the feed forward. Just look at all those people that I was making wait by chilling through the canyon. And so using a whole bunch of really good driving data that had OpenPilot holding curves very steadily at different speeds with different amounts of lateral acceleration, I was able to sample exactly how much torque it takes to achieve each amount of lateral acceleration at each speed, and simply fit a function to that data. And that's what I'm using to drive the car now. I've now done a similar thing for longitudinal control, which is the gas brake control of the car. What I did there was I measured the amount of regenerative braking acceleration that the car is able to produce at different speeds. And so it's using a lookup table to determine how much acceleration it can count on from regenerative braking at each speed. So it knows exactly when it's going to need to apply the friction brakes if it needs more than a certain amount, of acceleration. It's crazy that I'm going slower than the giant dump trucks. Those guys are nuts. Like, you're getting paid to drive around. Frickin' chill, man. Get OpenPilot in that dump truck. Retrofit EPS on every dump truck. So now the long control is really precise as you come to a stop. It knows just when the regen gives up. There's also a dependence on like how charged your battery is and stuff. That doesn't actually get captured. I'm only using a speed dependence right now, but speed's the biggest factor. And the way the Volt works, the battery's always basically at the same performance level. Man, way to go, OpenPilot. You rock. Can't believe how well this thing plans. So, it took like months before, I think it was about 6 months before I had both lateral derivative gain and custom feed forward. And once I got the PIDF with custom feed forward tune with the angle controller figured out, all of a sudden the Volt could execute the plan perfectly, and it feels so cool when it's following the plan. Like, you look where the path goes on the screen, and that is exactly where we go. It is so awesome to have it do that. And it makes laneless much, much better. Because with laneless, you have this problem. And it's kind of a... I don't know how they're going to get around it unless maybe they increase the amount of memory that laneless has by feeding it more frames at once or something. But laneless has this issue where still need more curve braking. Laneless has this issue where when you start to deviate from the path, laneless compensates. It gives, and it just plans a new path. Because, you know, humans drive everywhere. So when a human deviates from the path, it adapts. It doesn't, the human doesn't necessarily get back to the path quick enough that it's within context for the model training. You know, it just sees, based on this, do you turn left or right? And so it's tough to recover that. And so laneless is naturally a little bit more forgiving, and it'll just replan a new path. And that's a big problem, because its first path, the one that it planned when you were centered in your lane, was in fact the correct path. I'm just going to get off here so I can do more curve braking. I don't even know if this place is open. So if you're following the path really, really closely, then you can prevent laneless from having to plan that new path. Okay, we're going to do this again. And I can't believe how low it has to be. I'm going to do a 10% slower. And we're also going to pull back, make it engage deceleration a little bit faster. guess I shouldn't take the canyon back. If I do, I'll get stuck in that traffic. So now I can say okay, this next part's going to be a whole bunch of fun. Two Bears Tap and Grill for sale. Now hiring. Open. See, the problem, I don't know if it's a problem. That bridge is a problem. And they want to punch through the mountains to build more freeways. I like OpenPilot and all, but come on, people, let's have some electric trains. Let's have some high-speed rail through the mountains that we can be proud of. Our country's too big for trains. Oh yeah, it's way too big. Therefore, let's go across it slower instead of faster. Yeah. Good one. I wish they could just be facetious about it and say, we can't have electric trains, America sucks. And then I'd be like, wait a minute. What do you mean? I thought you liked it. Okay, here we go. In the right lane and commence chilling. So again, people drive crazy. They drive faster than they should. This feels pretty good. That's a lot of lateral acceleration, you know. I don't feel like I need a whole lot more than that. But then again, I don't have any more steering torque at my disposal. Otherwise, maybe I'd feel different. There you go. See how it got it under control there? Good. Alright, now we're going to pull a Huey here. Different from a Huey. And then while I'm holding the gas, I'm going to double tap the distance button, pow, to go into regen only mode. And now I'm in one pedal mode, but it won't bring me to a full stop unless I'm close enough to a lead. And then it applies light braking. Okay. So in addition to the dynamic gas brake threshold for smoother long control, I also use pitch compensated long control, because when you send a gas command to GM, it doesn't actually tell it to accelerate a certain amount. It tells it to create a certain amount of acceleration for the occupants. So if you're already going uphill, then you're already feeling a lot of acceleration. And so in order to actually accelerate uphill, which is what OpenPilot intends to do, you have to, yeah, this is a good amount of curb braking here. In order to actually go uphill like OpenPilot intends, you you have to give it more gas. And now it does. And it does it in a really clever way that Cadmus thought of, where it adjusts the gas and brake commands inside of car controller after the desired acceleration goes to the long controller. We take the output of the long controller, adjust that, so OpenPilot thinks it's requesting, say, 0 acceleration, but you're actually going up a steep hill, and so the car controller sends way more acceleration because that's what's necessary. Woo. Slow this down. It retook the curve. See, these are really tight curves, and if I'm going to let OpenPilot do it, I got to let it do its curve braking. So I'm just going to chill behind this RV for the time being. I mean, he's going fast enough to make these curves feel comfy. Okay, too slow. So like here, we're going up a 6.8% grade right here. It's quite grady. There we go. Maybe you can read that a little bit now. Steep hills, then you end up going way too fast and you'll get a ticket or something, and that's not very chill. I like crossing my arms while I drive an OpenPilot because it makes me feel like the motorcycle gang boss in Akira. Or Akira for my American friends. Look, I'm in the one smooth lane. That always makes you feel special. Unless the guy next to you comes into your lane with his trailer and hits you. Then you feel less special. So right as we started going up the hill, there was an instance of pretty strong curve braking. And it was strong, but it was exactly as much as it needed to be. It slowed OpenPilot down just enough to be able to take the curve. But I'm making people mad. I'm only doing 8 over through a curvy part of the freeway. You have to be going way more than 8 over. I mean, this is a 65, and these guys are flying. Look, he's doing 77. That guy's doing 86. Woo! My goodness. I hope these people win. I bet they're gonna win. Especially that guy doing 86. He is gonna frickin' win, baby. I'm gonna chill. So that was fun. When we started this drive, the curve braking was somewhat insufficient, I found. And now it seems to be just right. It's doing fantastic. Had us slow down to 70 there. Slowed us down to 66 on that one. Feels good. Feels like a competent human driving the car. It's kicking butt. B U T T. This is actually the first time I've had OpenPilot on this road for a while. I've made many substantial improvements since the last time I drove on this road. I was adjusting speed before. Now I don't have to. Yay, curve braking. Having an issue where the predictive braking is causing a little bit of curve brake, a little bit of unnecessary curve braking before it actually enters the curve. Because the predictive braking is more the vision-based braking based on predicted lateral acceleration is more conservative speed-wise than the braking that's based on the actual lateral acceleration. And sometimes it thinks a curve is tighter than it really is, so it'll brake right at the beginning and then stop braking for the rest of the curve. It's kind of annoying. Pretty sure if I lower this turning threshold, it will turn into the turning state sooner. This is all mostly regenerative braking. But here we go like this. Energy flow. Power regen recovery. this is like a stressful situation under normal circumstances. I've got all this traffic, a lot of stuff to watch out for, and I just get to sit in the captain's seat and make sure that OpenPilot continues to do a good job. Sometimes when it mislocates you, it thinks I'm on the frontage road right now, and I don't see how that can be the case, since it also says that I have 0.8 meter GPS accuracy, and it's still placing me on a road that's 20 meters away from me. So I don't quite understand how that works. One of the nice things about curve braking is that in the event that it doesn't brake enough for a curve, and it's actually saturating the steering while not braking enough, then you can just give it the tiniest touch with your finger, and it'll achieve the angle it's after, which will then cause it to apply more curve braking. Stop it. Stop it. Map braking is not locating me correctly right now either, which is why they decided to take this stuff out of Master, because maps aren't reliable. They can be really useful when they're working good, but they don't always work good, and so it's kind of a judgment call whether or not you want to use it. My judgment was to let the user decide and make it really easy to toggle it while you're driving, so that if it starts to give you issues, you can turn it off. Tight curve. Kicking butt. Nice curve braking. It's just holding us at just the perfect amount of lateral acceleration. This lane changes with a 2-second delay. So go over, wait a second, initiates the lane change for you. Very smooth, very nice. And the 0.8.12 model is the first one that supported 90 miles an hour as a top speed, so that's a bonus. I don't think they've got above that so far. And some would suggest that laneful is preferable to laneless still. I like leaving that up to the user as well. This lane change, it'll only go over if there's an adjacent lane to go over into. So if it knows that it's the shoulder to the right, then it won't engage nudge this lane change. It'll cause you have to apply torque on the steering wheel like a normal lane change in order for OpenPilot to drive you off the road into the shoulder. But it won't do it automatically. only does one nudgeless lane change. So if I leave it on, it will not engage another nudgeless lane change for me. That way, you know, if you turn on your blinker and pass out for a second for, you know, some reason, then it won't continue to drive you off the road. Which it shouldn't do anyways, because at some point you should be next to the shoulder, and then that's another reason why it wouldn't engage the nudgeless lane change. So, you know, we try to think safety first here at Tim's basement, where all the magic happens. Uh-oh, I'm being passed on the right. It's not a good thing. And I'm going to get over. But it's not going to slow down too terribly much because he's going faster than us. And like Shane and Kegman, my fork includes a dynamic follow distance that's based on the relative lead velocity. So basically, if they're pulling away from you, then the target follow distance in terms of number of seconds decreases. And if they're coming towards you, target follow distance increases. So they're coming towards you, it wants to now follow farther, so it engages the brakes more readily, more assertively, in order to regain this now larger follow distance. Or if they're pulling away, then you don't want to be the slowpoke in traffic making everybody angry. So when they're pulling away, it suddenly wants to follow much, much closer. And that causes assertive use of acceleration to more closely follow the lead when you're in traffic. And then I have adjustable follow distances that you can trigger with the steering wheel. You can see the pretty button. Far, medium, close, far. It's so pretty. That's actually the dynamic follow mode button. But dynamic follow mode, I never really finished it. Sorry. Usually I just leave it turned off. What a beautiful day. I'm tired. And now it's time to pick up my kids from school. So I'm going to say goodbye to you in a few minutes. But you're not here to listen to me talk. You're just here to watch my car drive itself while I ramble on. And at least 30% of my ramblings have been about the car, so that's good. That's pretty on point. I don't have for laneless is blind spot monitoring. Oh, there it goes. Now we're in the right position for extra safety. This feature could save lives, man. Serious. And it's not very many lines of code. this come to a stop with one pedal mode. You'll see me tapping the follow distance button in order to toggle between light and moderate braking. If I press and hold the follow button, then the steering wheel will return red, and it goes back to orange, and I can toggle to go back to green, and the red is heavy braking. Although at some point it becomes a little bit absurd to try and navigate complex longitudinal scenarios with a button press as opposed to a brake pedal. So if you're in a bind, please do not use one pedal mode to get yourself out of the bind. Grab the wheel and use the brake pedal and the gas pedal, and exercise your ability to control your car all by yourself, because sometimes it's just the best thing to do. And when you're in one pedal mode and the blinker is on and you're going less than 20 miles an hour, it will pause auto steering. That way, because OpenPilot doesn't know what your intention is, and while you're trying to make a 90-degree right turn at 10 miles an hour, it will be fighting with you to go straight until it finally decides that the better path is the one that you're taking, and then all of a sudden it'll go from fighting you to assisting you, and it doesn't feel good. So instead, you do what the MADS system does, which is the Modified Assistive Driving System or something, otherwise known as Auto on Lateral, which is in Sunny Pilot. That pauses steering when you're below 30 miles an hour. I went with 20 because I really like lateral control, and I'd rather have it until a little bit slower of a speed, because most right-hand turns happen at below 20 miles an hour. This way you can still use it for a little bit longer, and it'll still turn off so that it doesn't fight with you when you're trying to make a right-hand turn. See here, there's no shoulder. Oh yeah, we're also turning, but there's no shoulder here, so it will not put us in the right lane position, because it has to have clear lane lines. Even though it might switch back to lane full, because we have enough lane lines to plan on, it will not put you into the right lane position unless there's a lane line to your right, so that it can gauge whether or not there's a shoulder. Look at that. Looks like we're just barely gonna make it back on the battery. How fun. What a perfect route. Maybe I'll do it in reverse. See how it takes this. It didn't. Yeah, the Volt's got some things to overcome when it comes to very low speed driving. Notably, steering commands do not work under 7 miles per hour. But, hypothetically, we can control the parking assist system in order to control steering at least for under 7 miles an hour, but maybe also for up until 18 miles an hour, without the need to spoof speed to the EPS or do any of the dangerous stuff you're not supposed to do, because it's super dangerous and you shouldn't do it. But if we could access parking commands until 18 miles an hour, that would basically solve our problems. Look at this. This is pretty heavy roll, road roll, and it just compensates for it really well. So this number right here is your road roll in degrees. So you'll be able to see I'm going to go through this construction zone just so you can see the road roll, see how well it stays centered despite the changing roll. Compared to the PF tune, the PF lateral tune in stock, which just hangs off to the side, it leaves you almost in the oncoming lane permanently. Whereas this one never gets anywhere close. So it's just already got us dead centered. And that's with 3.7 degrees of road roll, which is pretty high. And you can see the path. If we were going faster, it'd be a little bit more consistent. But you can see the path is staying orange because it's having to apply about half. It's 1.9 right now out of 3.0 Newton meters of steering torque just to go straight due to the road roll, because it's a really crowned road, and it just handles it like a champ. And then here, I'm going to get over into the left position because the right side of this road is full of potholes. So the way auto lane position works is when you tap left or right one time, then you get a half mile of lane position. So it puts you in the left or the right position for a half mile. If you double tap it, then you get 10 miles in whatever position. So if you're on the highway and you need to stay over for a little while, then you can double tap it. It'll keep you over for the next 10 miles. If you turn on auto lane position, then that stays on until you either turn it off by tapping one of the lane position buttons again, or just when you restart the car. Such a champ. And in this case, it turns out a half a mile is a little bit shy of what I need. So I'm going to give myself a little bit more. And also, when you use automatic lane position, if you make a turn of more than 120 degrees, it will turn off whatever position you had selected. The assumption there was that you're not on the same road anymore, so you probably, whatever position that you were in probably no longer applies. So the device stayed cool the whole time. At the bottom left metric is the CPU temperature. It's at 71 Celsius. Stays cooler than my old Intel Mac Mini. Those things are little aluminum ovens. Runs at like 100 degrees Celsius idle. Boy, that dude's ripped. Wow. Absolute unit of a man. Well, guys, we're getting close to my house. I'm going to let you go. Until next time.